This episode of ZapsTech Gaming on ZapsTech Media Radio is brought to you by ZapsTech.net, where we assist, engage, and thrive each and every day. So log on today, create your account, and see what all the buzz is about. And now, live from his studio in Connecticut, it's time for,
be able to check with him, check in how he's doing, keep up with his work and to be able to be an active supporter for him, even if I'm not able to be there for, even if I'm not able to be there for the various events he goes out to.
I see. That's really cool. And then did you simply just ask him, hey, Mr. Page, will you come to my podcast? I mean, I'm just purely curious, like how the interaction went and like how it got to him finding out about your content and actually coming to your show. So how did that all, boil down to him coming to your podcast? It's so good.
Yeah. To answer that, I initially, of course at one point I eventually, before I contacted him, I was on the search, of course, to figure out who he was. And I, of course, I tracked down his name and, I checked, for social media, and I, of course, found his Facebook page, which I contacted him through there, and I kind of said something like on this page, I'm a big fan of your work, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk with me, about how you began your career and so forth, and he eventually got back to me, and he of course agreed, and this was the one day I believe between either that same year or the year after we eventually made the arrangements, and we of course did the interview, which of course we talked about his career and how he got started, and of course in the long run how he became the performer that he is today.
That's really fascinating. That's so good. Yeah. So do you still keep in touch with him today once in a while? Do you still follow his work?
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. Because in the long run, with him, not everybody realizes, but he's been able to work with some of the greats in the industry back then.
Mm-hmm.
Such as Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah.
Which is
absolutely.
Which is quite the honor if you ask me.
Well, I agree, man. I agree. Super cool. Super cool. And that is really wonderful. How has your podcast, and by the way, I must compliment you. And be honest, I had never heard of your podcast before, but I'm really glad I know of it. How has your podcast been perceived and received by the public? What are some, what have been the variety of reactions you've received?
In terms of the reactions, I would, in terms of reactions, I know people have told me that I was strong, informative and other various things like that, and in the long run, I'd say for myself personally, helpful in a way that, for people that may have disability and still would want to do something in entertainment, that they could still do it. Despite the challenges.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that's really important because there's a lot of people around our community, Aaron, who are blind or have cerebral palsy or who have other abilities and other disabilities. And they really need, you need to keep podcasting. I need to keep podcasting. We need to keep podcasting, and we will, because people really need this content. People really need to hear these stories. People really need to hear these stories. Here, let's let in Preston. Preston wants to sit in the audience. Let's definitely let him in. Okay. There he is. Anyway, but yeah, definitely people need these stories, man, and people need us to keep providing this content, because people need to know that people with disabilities can be podcasters and can produce great content like us. So, I mean, I just really appreciate, you for taking all this time to, contact all these people and have these great conversations. Oh, I thought a thought bubble just popped up in my mind. Have you sat down with, I got a great guest for you to interview, Aaron. Have you sat down with Maria Pendolino?
Maria Pendolino, no, I haven't.
Do you know who she
yes.
is?
Not on top of my head.
Okay. You're definitely going to love sitting down with her. She is a professional. I mean, she's done it all. She's been in movies. She's been in some Bollywood. She's been in a couple Bollywood movies. She's been in a couple TV shows on Lifetime. She's even been a reenactment actress on the National Geographic show Locked Up Abroad. She's been a voice actress. She's acted on Broadway before, I think. And if she's not doing all of those things, she is a really, really nice lady and a really fascinating person who would love I'm probably putting words in her mouth, but I would be more than happy tomorrow or at a later date to send you over, to shoot you over her Instagram. She is an absolutely brilliant person to talk to. She's had some amazing experiences in TV and acting and entertainment. And if she hasn't had those experiences, she also, I believe she's in a wheelchair and she has arthritis. And, so she's sighted, but she also has her own, different abilities and things like that. And she would be, I generally don't do this often. I generally don't say someone would love to talk to you. And, I'm not trying to put words in her mouth, but you would definitely be able to reach out to her and say, hey, here's what I do. And you can say, hey, plus Aaron Richmond from Aaron's Opinion thinks that I should talk to you and that you would be a great person to have on my show. She is a fascinating lady and just a great person, just a great talk. She really is. And she can do, just like you like to hear, all these different accents, and she's voiced a couple of video games. So I'm kind of surprised you haven't interviewed Maria Pendolino, but she's a character for sure in more ways than one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, to be honest, like,
yeah,
I'm so, like, to be honest, I mean, when I think about it, I'm surprised I'm surprised I've never considered her.
Well, but I mean, when I said her name, did you know who she was? Because she's a big deal in the acting industry. She's a pretty big deal in voice acting and movies and things like that. Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, the thing was, like, until you mentioned, I'm like, oh, because in the long run, because in the long run, it's surprisingly, she wasn't one that I initially considered, but
I'm just wondering if you had you ever heard the name before, though, or was that the first time you've heard of her?
Probably the first time, I think.
Interesting, because she's done it all. I really enjoyed that talk, and it was that conversation was a lot of fun. We'll definitely get in touch off air. I'll send you over her Instagram and things like that. But I would tell you, because quite frankly, I would tell most guests that this is going to sound weird, but it'll make sense in a second. I would tell most people don't reach out to certain people because there's a very specific way that you have to reach out to certain people. But if you, Aaron, can sit down with the singer from the Pokemon theme song, I think you've qualified to get to talk to. I think you've passed the qualification to talk to Maria. Her DM and seeing what she can do. But once she hears about the different things you're doing in the industry, I think she would love to. Not trying to put words in her mouth, my famous last words, but I think she would love to talk to you. Probably, yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
well, but that's really good. Who are some of your other people, man, that you really want to sit down with and that you would love to have an interview with? What do you think?
That's. Yeah, that's a bit of a tough question, actually.
Mm-hmm.
To tell you the truth, I know, I know Sunvisor. I know Sunvisor in terms of somebody that I know Sunvisor in terms of somebody that I have, that I've initially tried to go for. I've initially tried to, try to do an interview with, but of course, eventually was one of them that was scrapped.
That happens. It's okay. That
Yeah,
happens along the way. Not every interview works out, man. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I know at one point before I had to start over, I initially at one point had contact with the creator of Doug, Nickelodeon's Doug.
Wow. Yeah, that show, I do that show. You know what is interesting about that show, and I'm not going to get into too big of a discussion because I'm not an expert. I do know that show garnered a lot of that was a very controversial show, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
And from what I've heard, the creator has said that they're planning to work on another series at some point.
Right.
After all these years, so.
Yeah. Well, that's really fascinating. So, okay, but who are some other people that you would love to sit down with in the industry and have a discussion with? Who do you think?
Let's see. That's as I said, that's a bit of a tough one. In terms of others I would think of, maybe example of one that I wouldn't get my hopes up too much, but I don't know, maybe William Shatner.
Who is the creator of?
Well, he's not executive creator. He's a known he's a known actor and such. From the various TV shows like where he's done various on-camera work, and he's acted, of course he's acted in like Star Trek, and whole bunch of other things that he's done. Which two shows that I know him for is two reality ones he done, which were Weird or What and Rescue 911.
Yeah. Well, that is definitely very, very interesting. Yeah. That is super cool, man. So it sounds like, what I'm really absorbing from your love for podcasting and content creation is that you really like to have conversations about the entertainment industry. Your fascination is the entertainment industry, right? That's really what it seems
Yes,
like to me.
yes,
Yeah.
and the thing is, the thing is, this pretty much the part of the reason for that is, for me, it goes as far back as my younger years, from when I was a kid and when I
Mm-hmm.
was, in a fragile health state, and with much of the time that I spent, I was pretty much watching various movies, TV shows, and various things like that, and of course, of course, trying to focus on, trying to survive,
Right. Sure.
for a good set of, for a good set of years,
Mm-hmm.
and so in the long run, it's, so in the long run, it's become essential part of my life, essentially, even to this day. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
outside of just, advocating for people with disabilities and such.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. It can give, it can give you a great sense of calm, and it can be very calming for you to watch some of these great entertainers entertain you on the screen, whether it's a cartoon, a live action thing, or a TV show, a puppet, whatever their art form is. It can be very soothing and very entertaining for you to be able to sit back and watch them perform, right? I completely understand that. It's very touching and very soothing for me as well when I listen to other great podcasters like you and others around the industry. It gives me such a great sense of pride to know that there are other people who are more successful than me, who are producing great stuff as well. And that's so encouraging to me when I hear great podcasters around the industry who I look up to and are doing great stuff. It's so encouraging. It really is. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So good. So good. So, you know, wow. You really had you really had a lot. We really had a lot to say this evening, and you did an excellent job, man, as I knew you would. And you've been super good, super flexible, and super just another great friend here in here at Aaron's Opinion. So you are forever part of the Aaron's Opinion family, man. So
Yep.
I'm sure that you have some questions for things that you want to really know about Aaron Richmond. After all, you reached out to me, which is really inspirational for me to know that people are finding out about me and reaching out. So you reached out to me. You're pretty good at that reaching out thing, man. You're good at it, man. So you reached out to me. So what do you really want to know about me? By the way, Preston, you can I think it's kind of cool, Preston, if you want, man, you can type a question that you want answered to, if you want. But Aaron, what do you think? What are some things that you want to talk to me about, and what are some things that you want to ask me?
Of course. So in the long run, so one of the things I definitely want to ask you is um, what at what point in your life, did you get to a point where you're like, where you thought to yourself, I want to get into this creative endeavor, and be able to speak with other people with with different disabilities, and other types of people and such, and and of course how how you grew up has become a vital part of what you do.
Okay. Well, thank you for asking. Could you please rephrase the question a little bit? Could you restructure the question a little bit for me?
Yeah. So in the long run for you, in the long run, to put it this way for you, what at what point, like when when did you have your moment of where you thought, I would want to get into this creative endeavor and be able to use my experiences growing up.
Okay.
To be able to help other people.
Yeah. So like basically like what tipped, what was the flame under my ass that really tipped me over, and really basically what really kicked my ass into gear is what you really want to know. I was during there you go. Okay, here, so go ahead. Preston wants to know, and he's asking you, Aaron, who's been your favorite person to interview? And then I'll answer your question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So to answer that question, this one's a kind of bit of a toss.
Well, it's not. We can't have a toss. There's no toss about favorites. I'm just kidding around. Can you maybe narrow it down to one?
If it had to be one, if it had to be one, it would definitely be Christian Potenza. A voice actor who's of course has done, is one of the roles he's known for is Chris McClane from Total Drama Island, which if you've seen any game shows that are like Survival or whatever, then you'd have a sort of idea what the show is. And
okay.
He's
well, that's great.
He was in the long run when we were in the whole stage of the interview, he was such a character. I mean, like he just went with it, like like, you know what I mean? Like,
I know. Well, you know what? I know what you mean, Aaron. Has anyone told you that you're a character? You have a personality too, man. You're a character too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I try to be.
That's very admirable. You try to be, so you accept your characterness. You try to be a character. Well, you don't have to try too hard. You're already a great character, man. Really. Back to my question that you asked. I was sitting at home during the pandemic, and I was doing a lot of teaching, and because that's my day job, I'm a teacher online. Now, thanks to God, technically speaking, I am a professional podcaster now, but I wasn't then. Anyway, though, I was listening to a lot of podcasts around the blindness community, and I just felt that they weren't really open to my opinions about things. They didn't want to listen to guests, in my opinion, and they didn't really want to listen to my opinion. Well, in case you haven't noticed, I love to talk to people, and I love to express my opinion, whether you agree with it or not. So you see, I created Aaron's Opinion to give you the chance to share your opinion and your knowledge with the world. I don't know specifically what day it was. It was probably the spring of 2020, at the height of the pandemic. And I was just sitting on my bed and, back at home. At that point, I was living in Maryland in my life and sitting around and basically needing something to do. And I know that I'm a great speaker, and I just love to talk to people. Talking and recording stuff makes me happy, So that's how I got into it. And it's been an emotional roller coaster. There's been ups and downs and lefts and rights. And, if I was driving a car, I would tell you, Aaron, I took a couple, I made a left-hand turn where there wasn't a left-hand turn to make. But the fact is, we got here where we are today because we both love podcasting and connecting with people, and your love for people, and your personality, you just have a very infectious personality that's just really amicable. I'm also a French speaker now. I forgot the word in English now. Amicable. That's the word in English. Very, 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 very. You have a very useful personality for podcasting. You were just about to ask it. You were just about to ask, Aaron, have you ever recorded an episode in your French language? Well, as a matter of fact, I have. Anyway, hope that answers all of your questions, man. And what else do you want to know?
So in the long run, I was kind of wondering for you. I was kind of wondering for you, man. For you, what was life for you like growing up?
Difficult. I've had a very isolating life, a very difficult life. I grew up in a very small community near Washington, D.C., and I've really had to make my own way in life. I've had to be my own individual, just like you. I've had to develop my own character. You know, I'm my own character in my own TV show, in my own persona, you know? But that's who I am. And there are many hard days in my life, just like there are in yours. And there's many days where I say, you know, that kind of upset me a little bit, or that was a little hard, or, you know, I wish that it hadn't happened that way. But then again, that's life. Life happened that way, you know? We look around the world, Aaron, and we see all these problems, right? We see all these things that have gone wrong. We ask ourselves, well, look at all these problems. This happened, that happened. Look at all the stuff. Look at all the damage we've done around the world. And I look at the world and I say, well, we did it. So now it's up to me to create audio content to give you knowledge and inspiration. And if nothing else, to help you have a better day, to help you to have peace in your life. That's at least my hope for you and for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool, man.
Can
So good.
definitely go with you on that one.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, you know, as in relation to what you were saying, I can in a way relate to you because my early life was pretty much isolating, and you know, I was pretty much instinctively in survival mode because of my health from when I was a kid, and you know, I did not really have much in terms of, you know, in terms of friends and such, you know, that I could come to or whatever, you know, when I was younger, and I'll be honest, there you know, there have been times where there have been times I've been at my lowest, because the worst I can recall for me personally, I'm not going to go into detail too much, but when it comes to mental health, the reason I say it's so important is because I've already been in a situation before where back in, I would say, 2020, I of course went for a psychotic break, and eventually there was a point where I was psychiatrically insane, and had all these strange thoughts and everything else, and especially after that episode, I try not to do too much, and stress myself out, because like once it gets to that point, then that the people close to you are going to be in for one hell of a roller coaster.
Yeah. Well, that's how life goes, man. I'm sorry you went through it, but that's life, and you're doing great now with your show and things like that. And you did a wonderful job here. So you'll keep producing great episodes. I'm sure of it. And I hope that this conversation has given you a burst of inspiration to start, creating more stuff again and doing more interviews and reaching out to more people and things like that. Maybe, who knows, maybe you'll reach out to this Maria lady and that'll be the next, the interview that'll kind of kick it off for you again and kind of get your momentum going again. Who knows,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've had a wonderful discussion. I thank you very, very much for joining us this evening. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of great friends around the community who will also enjoy this. And so, Aaron, if someone wants to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
Okay, so pretty much if they would want to reach me, They can find me on Facebook and Twitter. Of course, which of course at this point I mainly have my personal account for Facebook, and then of course I have my Twitter, and then I know for Instagram I'll have to get that set up. Because the thing is because I wasn't originally going to bring this up, but there was a point I was hacked before, so.
Oh my.
So that's part of how I had to, outside the podcast itself, I had to start from scratch. And so it's definitely something,
That's something. Well, that's really good. That's really, really good. And so I mean, guys, click the link in the description. And Aaron, you'll send me over a good description with all your social media links, and people will get in touch with you. All right.
Yep.
Right. Well, sounds really good. Anyway, all of that is fine. I want to say thank you very much for joining us this evening on the audio. And do you know how I end an episode here at Aaron's Opinion?
Not 100% top of my head.
That's fine. We say keep podcasting, stay safe out there. We'll see you next time. Help one person today, help 1 million people tomorrow.